Forget everything they taught you as a child about how the world works. Life is not a classroom where lifting a hand ensures attention, not a fairy tale where good always wins. It is a daily battle against more powerful forces, against circumstances, and, above all, against its own limitations. And in this fight, no one will come to save you. People don't care about their tiredness, pain, or insecurities. Respect does not go to those who ask for help, but for those who keep up even when everything seems to collapse. In this material, you will find 12 essential principles for those who no longer want to be a victim, without mercy and without illusions. Only hard truths that strengthen. The world does not care about your problems until you become a result. It can sink into debt, loneliness, or suffering, and yet it will be invisible. Not because people are cruel, but because life works like a ring. Who is on the floor is just part of the landscape. Only when you get up do others see your strength. Respect is not enough for those who complain, but for those who act. Even without strength. The ancient sages understood that self-dish weakens while persistent action strengthens. Therefore, the true warrior acts in silence, supports, and advances. Until, instead of asking, "How are you?" ask, "How did you get it?" But until that moment, you will walk alone not looking for applause, but because there are only two ways: becoming someone who cannot be ignored or disappear among those who have always complained about life. Society does not save those who beg. She only notices those who no longer need salvation. Here they do not survive the kind, but those who maintain the necessary coldness. You can be the most sincere, honest, and open in the world, and yet it will be crushed, because the world does not reward delicacy, it tests resistance. If you are very malleable, you end up dissolving. People enjoy kindness when there is no firmness behind it. They respect limits, not concessions. Those who survive are not cruel, but know how to make decisions without being carried out by emotions. It does not act for pity, does not forgive betrayals in the name of harmony. In a world where few care, those who thrive are those who face chaos without wavering, who can say no when necessary, and who move away when they are not valued. Frailty is not synonymous with evil but of clarity. It is understanding where compassion ends and self-destruction begins. If you do not learn to be firm, do not survive, and no one will respect you. Key-free goodness is just a convenience for others. If you do not learn to endure, you do not learn to live. It is not the ones who have everything easy to survive, but those who do not collapse when everything collapses. The pain will come, as well as loneliness, betrayals, and nights unclear. They are part of the way. If you retreat with every difficulty, you will never grow. The world doesn't ask how you are. He simply continues to press. Either you resist or disappear. Patience is the shield of the strong, because it allows to cross the storm without losing its essence. While others break with pain, you learn to breathe inside it. While others run away from the pressure, you take a step further. At one point, the pain is no longer an enemy and becomes a sign you are on the right track. If it is easy, it is because you are still. Growth always comes through resistance. Only those who persist gain the right to live in their own terms. If you want respect, first learn to be a threat, not to cause damage, but to demonstrate that it cannot be manipulated. The world does not hear who is harmless. He feels strength and only backs before her. You may be wise, generous, or even a genius, but if you don't know how to show firmness, you will be used. Those who dominate this principle do not seek conflict, but do not escape from it either. You know that respect does not come from words, but from clear limits, and limits are a silent but visible threat. Being dangerous does not mean being aggressive, but having the ability to act hardly when necessary. Like a blade in the sheath, it is enough for her to be there so that others know her existence. People test each other all the time, even without realizing it. If you never say no, you never defend yourself, and never protect your space, you've lost. Respect begins where convenience ends. If you want to be taken seriously, stop being predictable. And you are weak inside. Any little thing will bring you down: a look, a word, a bad day. It is not the great tragedies that break people, but the lack of a solid internal base. Who strengthens themselves builds himself step by step, thought after thought, habit after habit. You know that the world will not be kind, so it does what is needed, even when you have no desire. If you do not harden by choice, life will force it. And if there is nothing inside you, it will crumble with each stumble until you understand that the outer force is born from an unqualified internal nucleus. No one will give you stability. In this world, either you define the rules or live by the rules of others. It can be polite, discreet, and courteous, but if it does not draw its limits, it will be shaped to the objectives of others. People, without evil, naturally seek those who can control. It is not a matter of intention, but of instinct. If you do not make it clear what you accept and what you do not tolerate, Others will decide for you. Anyone who really knows has known what they can endure and what will never allow. You can shut up, but your silence is a choice. It can give in, but not out of fear, but by strategy. Above all, it has principles, not those superficially shared on networks, but rigid and clear internal laws. It does not live to please, but to be who it is. If it bothers someone, it doesn't bow, because you know that by giving up yourself, it loses everything. A person without identity is just a useful but disposable piece. You will be tested constantly, first with casual words, then with actions, until sooner or later someone or their own life will press their weaknesses, not out of evil, but because the world is always measuring what you are done. Every day, someone will watch how far they can go with you, how much you allow, how much you can handle. If you swallow an offense, it will swallow another, and another, until there is nothing just a docile, polite, and broken shadow. Therefore, those who understand this game do not shut up when their borders are violated. It does not tolerate to lose yourself, because you know, who does not test does not respect, and who respects does not test for no reason. If you do not show that you can get up, you will pass your life knocking you, always with a smile, but knocking down. Your salvation is only in action. You can analyze, complain, wait, or dream, but until it moves, sinks. The world does not change with thoughts. The world does not become reflections, it changes by decisions. Stoics were not stopped, plunged into infinite doubts about what would be the best way. They looked at what was within their reach and acted, because they knew action is the only antidote against fear, against pain, against weakness. Even the slightest gesture, one step, a refusal, a difficult conversation is enough to break inertia. People get lost within their own heads. They build plans, wait for the perfect moment, imagine ideal scenarios. But life never delivers the perfect moment. It delivers reality. And if you want to survive in a world where no one cares, it needs to be the one who advances when others hesitate, who decides when others just think, and acts even when everything inside you shake, because only the movement gives support. It is not the reflections, not the emotions, but the acts, clear, simple, systematic. Without them, you are just an idea, and an idea without execution is just. Rule 9. Silence is a weapon. Use it wisely. Words lose value when they are many. Explanations, justifications, lamentations, all this makes it predictable, and the predictable is vulnerable. Force is not saying everything, but in keeping what should be kept. In a world where everyone screams, silence becomes a sign of depth. It is a choice, not reacting to provocation, not exposing weaknesses, not distributing your plans to those who do not deserve, because you know that the essentials must be protected, and protects itself not with words, but with limits. People feel when they are facing someone who doesn't have to prove anything. This one does not go into discussions. Do it. It doesn't promise. It does not spend energy with those who are not worth it, and that destabilizes, because in a world of staging, you become a puzzle and the riddle commands respect. Silence is an armor. If you learn to shut up at the right time, it will be impossible to break it. Rule 10. If you do not control yourself, you will be controlled. Each time it loses patience, is offended, gives in to laziness, or fear, becomes a puppet. People press their buttons, and you react. Circumstances change, and you are dragged by the current. Stoic understands self-control is not a luxury, it is a necessity. Without it, you lose even before fighting. The world will press, test, provoke. You will hear criticism, face refusal, lose battles. And if you don't know how to contain yourself, it will destroy everything around. The one who breaks down relationships will give up projects, gives up on the first obstacle. But if you learn to master, it will be dangerous, because it will no longer be a reaction to becoming a force. Cold, serene, deliberate, they will try to knock it down, but will not, because you will no longer be a mood, but a decision. And in this world, only decisions shape reality. Rule 11. No one is obliged to believe, help, or support you. It can be sincere, can strive to the fullest, and yet you will find indifference, because each one carries their own pains, their priorities, their limits, and no one should invest in their way. Stoic never depends on external help. Thanks if she comes, but she doesn't hold to her, for dependence weakens him. You become the one who expects approval, a green light, inspiration, the faith of others. And while waiting, it stands and wastes time. The world is full of people who almost started, who almost achieved, but was missing support. Stoic does not expect. It starts alone, without guarantees, without applause. If someone joins the way, great. If not, there is no problem either, because those who are truly ready do not seek those who carry it, simply advances. And that is what separates the dreamers from the survivors. Rule 12. Life is a battle, and you are not a spectator. You can pretend that everything is fine, that you only want peace, kindness, stability. But the world doesn't work like that. He does not expect, does not spare, advances over who stands. If you do not understand this, you will always be a victim. So it knows the struggle is no exception. It is the base. Fight with oneself, with the circumstances, with the inner chaos. Accepts this as a norm and does not complain, does not ask for favors. Because you understand that life is not easier if you are fragile, it gets harder. You do not receive what you want. Receives for what you are willing to fight every day. No audience, no rewards. Just because something inside you says, I don't give up. And when this voice becomes higher than fear, you start to win. Not at once, not immediately, but constantly because he got up, because he accepted the battle, and that already means he survived. Life is a battle, and in this battle there is no clearance, no guarantees, no judges. Either you fight or lose in silence. These 12 rules will not make your life easier, but will make you more dangerous. And when you become dangerous, no one else can stop it.